Hello everyone, it is Navani Krishnan from IITM GATE classes. In this section, we are going to see GATE 2019 solutions of aircraft performance in aerospace engineering. A total of four one-mark questions has been asked in this GATE 2019 under aircraft performance, and a two-mark question has been asked. Total of 8 marks has been asked under aircraft performance. GATE 2019, first question number 8. When a propeller airplane in ground roll during takeoff experiences headwind, which of the following statements is false? Option A, drag on the airplane increases. Option B, the thrust of the propeller decreases. Option C, lift wing lift increases. Option D, ground roll distance decreases. Okay. So first, what is the headwind? Headwind is this when the airplane is moving forward. When the airplane is moving forward, it experiences a wind which is opposite to the direction of flight. If the direction of flight is in this direction, and if the wind is in the opposite direction to the direction of flight, then it is called as headwind. Whenever headwind increases, what happens? Headwind increases whenever there is an headwind. It is opposite to the direction of flight. Headwind is in the opposite to the direction of flight. That means drag of the airplane increases. That means drag of the airplane increases. So this statement is true. This statement is true. Drag of the airplane increases. Second one is what happens to thrust from the propeller? The propeller thrust depends upon what is the parameters it depends upon? Propeller thrust is directly proportional to mass flow rate of air into velocity at which it is exiting the propeller, velocity at which it is entering the propeller. Now, if you see, the velocity at which it is entering increases because of the headwind. Okay, the velocity at which it is entering, it increases due to headwind. That means VI increases due to headwind. VI increases due to headwind, due to which the inlet drag on the propeller increases, due to which VI mass flow rate into VI is the inlet drag. So inlet drag on the propeller increases. That means the exit velocity depends upon the other parameters, the parameters such as temperature. So what happens is here the inlet velocity got increased due to headwind, thereby inlet drag got increased, thereby thrust of the propeller decreases. So this statement is also true. So this statement is also true. So what happens to the lift of the aircraft, lift of the wing? Whenever there is an headwind, the relative velocity acting on the the relative velocity acting on the wing increases. The relative velocity acting on the wing increases because headwind is opposite to the direction of flight. Thereby, the relative velocity entering the wing increases. Thereby, whenever relative velocity increases, lift is directly proportional to velocity square. So, whenever relative velocity increases, the lifting increases. But okay, so option C is also true. What happens to option D? Ground roll distance. Ground roll distance. What happens to ground roll distance? Ground roll distance is depends upon We'll clear this. Ground roll distances depends upon directly ground speed of the airplane. Okay. That is 2 into thrust minus y minus ur into w minus. This is the relation for to find out ground roll distance. Okay. So Sg is directly proportional to ground velocity v. Okay, it is not directly proportional to relative velocity, it is directly proportional to ground velocity. Whenever there is a headwind, already your aircraft was flying in a free stream velocity v infinity, which is in the direction of flight. Already your aircraft is flying at a free stream velocity v infinity in the direction of flight. There is an opposing wind called as headwind VHW. So what happens whenever there is an opposing wind? The ground velocity is now got reduced because of the headwind, because it is opposite to the direction of flight. So ground speed got reduced, thereby since ground roll distance is directly proportional to ground velocity. So Sg Vg decreases due to headwind, thereby Sg decreases. So but the given statement here, ground roll distance increases. The only statement false here is option D. So option D is the correct answer. Okay. So option D is the correct answer. Next, question number 17. In a power of glide, the range of the airplane with a maximum L by D of 18. The glide starts at an altitude of 4 kilometers is dash kilometer. Round off to the nearest integer. So what happens is they ask us to find out what is the range of the aircraft. What is the range of the aircraft? So what they are given, the given data is L by D they are given. L by D equal to 18. And at which altitude it starts to glide also they are given, that is equal to 4 kilometers. Now if you see, the aircraft starts to glide from this altitude. Okay. So this is gamma. So this is height h, this is the range. Range only we have to calculate. Now tan gamma during glide flight, tan gamma is given as 1 divided by L by D, that is equal to h divided by range, where gamma is the glide angle. So in this h we know, in this L by D we know, from that we can calculate our range. So L by D is nothing but 1 by 18. L by D is 18. So 1 divided by L by D is 1 divided by 18, that is equal to altitude 4 kilometer divided by range. So range is nothing but 18 into 4 kilometer. So whatever value we get it in kilometer, so that is 72 kilometers. So the answer is 72 kilometers. Okay, this is on 1 mark question. Okay. Now next question is question number 18. For an airplane flying in a vertical plane, the angle of attack is 3 degrees. The horizontal and vertical component of velocity in the wind axis are 300 km per hour and 15.72 kilometer per hour. Okay. 15.72 kilometer per hour. The pitch altitude of the airplane is dash degree. Round off to two decimal places. That means what is the data given? They given the data alpha angle of attack equal to 3 degree and the vertical component of velocity. Vertical already your aircraft is climbing at an angle gamma to the horizontal. So this is V. So the horizontal component of velocity is V cos gamma. When you resolve this, the horizontal component of velocity is V cos gamma. The vertical component of velocity is V sin gamma. So they given horizontal component of velocity V cos gamma. Horizontal component of velocity, horizontal velocity, that is V cos gamma equal to 300 kilometers per hour. And the vertical component of velocity they given as v sin gamma, that is equal to 15.72 kilometer per hour. So from this, when you divide this divided by this, that is equation 1 divided by equation 2, we get it as v got cancelled, sin gamma divided by cos gamma is tan gamma. Tan gamma equal to 15.72 divided by 300. Both are in kilometer per hour. So when you divide, the unit is getting cancelled. So gamma is tan inverse of 15.72 divided by 300. So gamma we get it as 2.99 degree. Okay. So gamma we got, alpha already we is given. The pitch attitude of the airplane in degree. They are asking about pitch angle beta. Pitch angle beta. They are asking pitch angle beta. Pitch angle beta is nothing but pitch angle beta is nothing but equal to angle of attack plus climb angle. Angle of attack we already know, that is 3 degree, and pitch climb angle is 2.99 degree. That's what we obtained. So the answer is 5.99 degree. So the answer is 5.99 degree. Okay. It is also a 1 mark question. So the next question is question number 19. GATE 2019, question number 19. An airplane in a steady level flight with a true airspeed of 50 meters per second. The ambient air density and pressure at the flight altitude are given as 0.91 kilogram per meter cube and 7 into 10 power 4 Newton per meter square respectively. At sea level, the air density is 1.225 kilogram per meter cube and ambient pressure is 1.01 into 10 power 5 Newton per meter square. The equivalent or indicated speed of the airplane is given as dash meter per second. So what they given? They given two airspeed of the airplane as they given two airspeed of the airplane as 50 meter per second, and at certain altitude they given density as 0.91 kilogram per meter cube and 0.91 kilogram per meter cube, and pressure at that altitude as 7 into 10 power 4 Newton per meter square. Pressure at that altitude as 7 into 10 power 4 Newton per meter square. And they also given that at sea level condition I am representing by suffix 0. So sea level density as 1.225 kilogram per meter cube, and sea level pressure are we represented by infinity, free stream. So at a sea level condition, which is represented by infinity. So P infinity is 1.01 into 10 power 5 Newton per meter square. The relation between equivalent airspeed and true airspeed is given as equivalent airspeed equal to root of rho by rho infinity into true airspeed. So substitute the density 0.91 at an altitude. At sea level it is 1.225. True airspeed is into 50. We get equivalent airspeed as 43.094 meter per second. They asked us to round to two decimal places, so it is 43.09 meter per second. This is the equivalent or indicated airspeed of the airplane. The equivalent and indicated, the speed directly measured from the airspeed indicator corresponding to sea level condition is called the indicated airspeed. The speed measured from the measured at a particular altitude, density taken at particular altitude, then that airspeed is called the actual speed of the airplane is called the true airspeed. Okay, so the equivalent airspeed depends on the sea level density. So the corresponding equivalent airspeed equal to 43.09 meter per second. Next, question number 41. It is a 2-mark question. Consider an airplane with a weight of 8,000 Newton, wing area of 16 meters square, and wing zero lift drag coefficient equal to 0.02, Oswald efficiency factor 0.8, and aspect ratio of 6 in a steady level flight with a lift coefficient of 0.375. Considering the same flight speed and ambient density, the ratio of induced drag coefficient during steady level flight to that of during 30-degree climb is dash. Round up to two decimal places. Now we'll see what are the given data. Given data, they given it as weight equal to 8,000 Newton and wing area equal to 16 meters square. Zero lift drag coefficient CD naught equal to 0.02. Oswald efficiency factor E equal to 0.8. Aspect ratio AR equal to 6. CL for a steady level flight, they are given it as, so for steady level flight, I am representing it as CL naught. Okay. Okay. Steady level flight condition, I am representing it as CL naught. The steady level flight lift coefficient is 0.375. Okay. If you are not confused with zero lift drag coefficient and CL of zero lift, so in this steady level flight lift, I am taking it as CL1 otherwise. Okay, CL1. And at 30-degree climb, my lift coefficient is CL2. Let us assume it. Okay. So what happens in steady level flight, lift equal to W, that is equal to L naught. For a climbing flight, lift is equal to W cos gamma. So W is equal to lift of steady level flight. W is equal to lift of steady level flight. So that is L naught cos gamma. So lift of 30-degree climb equal to lift of steady level flight into cos gamma. So L by L naught can be written as cos gamma. So from this CL by CL naught can be, or CL naught or CL1, whatever it is. So since this we are taking it as 1, so I'll take this as 1, L1. Since we have used CL1, I'm taking this as L. So this is L2. L2 equal to L1 cos gamma. So L2 by L1 is L2 is the lift at 30-degree climb angle. L1 is the lift at steady level flight. So CL2 divided by CL1 equal to cos gamma. Now, induced drag coefficient is directly proportional to CL square, right? So CDI for 30-degree climb and divided by CDI of steady level flight is equal to. So when you divide all the other parameters remaining same, that is CA is nothing but CL square by pi EAR. Since Oswald efficiency factor and aspect ratio remaining same, so all these are cancelled out. So CDI is directly proportional to CL2 square by CL1 square. That is equal to cos gamma square. Now what we want? The ratio of induced drag coefficient during steady level flight to that of a 30-degree climb is dash. So they are asking first steady level flight divided by induced drag of 30-degree climb. So what is that they are asking? CDI of steady level flight divided by CDI of 30-degree climb, which is inverse of this, because we already taken 30-degree climb divided by 30 steady level flight. So it is inverse of this. So it is 1 divided by cos gamma square. Cos gamma value is climb angle value is 30 degrees. So cos 30 square. Cos 30 value is 0.866. So, so the value which we obtained from this is 1.33. So the answer for 1.333 we'll get it as. So if you round up to 2 decimal places, it is 1.33. So this is the answer. Okay. Now we'll move on to next question. Question number 43, which is also a 2-mark question. And a propeller driven airplane has a gross takeoff weight of 4,905 Newton and wing area of 6.84 meters square. Assume that wings are operating at the maximum CL3 by 2 by CD of 13 and propeller efficiency is 0.9. Specific fuel consumption of the engine is 0.76 kilogram per kilowatt hour. Given that air density of Given that the density of air at sea level is 1.225 kilogram per meter cube and acceleration due to gravity is 9.81 meter per second square, the weight of the fuel required for a endurance of 18 hours is at sea level is dash. What are the given data? They are given the gross weight of the airplane, which is taken as W naught, that is equal to 4,905 Newton. And they also given wing area, that is equal to 6.84 meters square. And CL3 by 2 by CD is given as 13. The propeller efficiency is given as 0.9 and specific fuel consumption SFC is given as 0.76 kilogram per kilowatt hour. We have to convert into in terms of Newton and seconds kind of. So if we convert, if I want to convert a kilogram into Newton, it is 0.76 into 9.81 Newton divided by kilowatts, which is 1000 watts. Kilowatts is 1000 watts. Watts is in Newton meter per second. So everything is in Newton meter. So Newton meter per second is watts. Joule per second is watts. So Newton meter is joule. Joule per second is watts. Into 3600 seconds. So seconds cancel. Newton is cancelled. So value will get it in per meter. So the value which we are getting is 2.07 into 10 power minus 6 per meter. Okay, and they also given the air density value at sea level as 1.225 kilogram per meter cube, and acceleration due to gravity 9.81 meter per second square. Endurance they given it as 18 hours. If I convert into seconds, 1 hour equal to 3600 seconds. So it is 64,800 seconds is the endurance. They asked us to find out what is the weight of the fuel. First, we have to calculate what is the empty weight. From that, we can calculate what is weight of the fuel. So endurance for a propeller engine airplane is given as E equal to eta P into SR, eta P divided by SFC into CL3 by 2 by CD into root of 2 rho infinity S into 1 divided by root of W1 minus 1 divided by root of W1. So W1 is the empty weight of the airplane, W0 is the gross weight of the airplane. Already it is given. W0 value is given and S value is given, rho infinity value is given, CM3 by 2 by CD value is given, eta P value is given, SFC value is given, and E value is given. From that, we can calculate what is W1 equal to. We can calculate W1 equal to, from that we can calculate W1 equal to 3428.49 meters. So this is the empty weight of the airplane. Now we have to calculate what is the weight of the fuel. Weight of the fuel is nothing but gross weight of the airplane minus empty weight. W1 is the empty weight of the airplane. So total weight of the airplane minus empty weight of the airplane is nothing but the weight of the fuel. So 4905 minus 3428.59 Newton is your weight of fuel. That is equal to 1476.51 Newton. The answer to round up to nearest integer. So it is 1477 Newton. When I approximate to nearest decimal places, nearest integer, so it is 1477 Newton. With this, the problems of aircraft performance of K 2019 is over. So total of 8 marks has been asked. That is 4 1 mark question, 2 mark question. So 8 marks has been asked from this K 2019. So we'll wind up this.